Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and welcome back to another video full of subscriber replays. And in this video we're going to be taking a look at some heavy tanks, and specifically some heavy tanks that, well, you don't actually see all that much of. We're starting off with the T-32 here, driven for us by Trilok 1945. The T-32 has remained unchanged in the game, fundamentally unchanged anyway, for quite a long time, and tank's armour has been creeping up and up and up, and the gun on the T-32, which was always considered rather mediocre, is now shifting very much into the poor category. The thing is, with this gun, it's the same gun you were using on the T-29 at Tier 7, and on the T-29 at Tier 7 it's a damn decent gun. But here at Tier 8 it's feeling a little bit underwhelming. Mainly because your accuracy is poor, your soft stats aren't actually very good, and your penetration is less than 200 on a tank that sees Tier 10s. It's a kind of awkward combination. What's especially noteworthy is that, well, this is the same gun that the M6 Mutant, whatever the hell it's called, premium tank gets, and that does get limited matchmaking. Still Tier 8, but it doesn't see Tier 10s, and even on that tank, honestly, the gun feels a little bit, yeah. So, yeah, what a lot of people do is exactly what Trilok's doing here. They fire an awful lot of APCR rounds. Yeah, which is entirely up to them. I'm not criticising it. I'm just trying to highlight the fact that this gun does leave quite a lot to be desired. So what does the T-32 have going for it? Well, compared to its predecessor at Tier 7, the T-29, the mobility is a little better. The hull armour is better, though bear in mind it's a tier higher, and the turret is also arguably better, though bear in mind the turret on the T-29 was damn good anyway, so having a better turret than a T-29 is of questionable value. But there we go. So you don't tend to see that many T-32s, not because the American heavy tank line isn't a good line to go down, it is. But the thing with the T-32 is, well, you end up wondering, okay, so why would I play it? I would like to either stick at the T-29 at Tier 7, that feels a lot more powerful relative to its tier, or I'll keep grinding and get up to Tier 10. Either way, I ain't keeping this thing. So there we go. If you're firing APCR ammunition, your penetration goes up to 245, and I'd like to point out this is, in case anyone hadn't noticed, a Tier 10 match. So Trilok is trying to deal with Tier 10 tanks as a bottom tier machine. And here you can see Type 5 heavy, and even firing APCR into the side of that guy's turret, the first shot actually bounced. So there is that. So we've got a Type 5 heavy up here, T-34 and E-75. Trilok has come up to the traditional heavy tank brawling location. He needs to be careful about that Type 5 heavy. Realistically, you are not going to go through the front of him with 245 penetration. That is probably not going to happen. The lower front plate on an E-75, however, sure. And this is one of those situations where the premium rounds really do make a difference. With your regular armour piercing, you're really going to struggle to go through the frontal plate, or the lower front plate, of an E-75. Your premium rounds, however, are up to snuff. You're still not going to be able to auto-aim straight through the front of the upper front plate on that tank or anything, but yeah, you can definitely go through the lower front plate. And what Trilok did there, which was really nice, was put a shot through the axle of the E-75, and the E-75 was angled such that Trilok could track him and consistently do damage at the same time, which was a nice bit of play. Now here you can see against that Type 5 heavy, since this replay, the Type 5 has been slightly modified so that it has got a couple of weak points, but you have to bear in mind weak is a relative term. They're weak for the Type 5 heavy. That does not mean they are what most tanks would consider weak points, and so even with the slightly nerfed Type 5 heavy, with the T-32, Trilok is still not really going to be penetrating those quote-unquote weak points, but there we go. Type 5 Heavy has fired. Trillic is being eminently sensible here and not going out when that guy is loaded. Should probably point out that in this situation, Trillic would be just as effective firing regular armor-piercing rounds, and he wouldn't cost himself as much money. So I think here the APCR is rather wasted. But as he's keeping this Type 5 Heavy tracked, that means that his allies can put shots into this guy, and Trillic will pick up assistance damage and all of that good stuff. And he's just helping his team out. He's a bottom tier tank, so he's supporting his team as best as he can. Bit of spotting damage on the Type 5 as well, tracks him again. There's some more assistance damage as people shoot the guy while he's tracked from Trillic's shot, and the guy is now dead. Nicely done. So Trillic is actually up to almost 2,000 assistance damage at this point, which is quite a nice result. If Trillic were to explode here and now, this would still be a good game for him. And that poor FV was set on fire. Whoops. Scoreline is 8-4. It looks like the friendly team is going to win this with any luck. So Trillic's just looking to see if he can get some more damage in before this game ends. So having a look, he's deciding that he is effectively going back around this whole castle complex thing. We've got the Type 5 Heavy pushing around, so it's possible he might be able to shoot the other Type 5 Heavy in the flank, maybe. We shall see. He's probably only going to get one shot of that, because then he's back to his armor-piercing rounds, which are probably going to find even the side of a Type 5 Heavy relatively problematic. Oh, Type 5 is looking at you, Trillic. Okay, you put a shot into him. He was clearly reloading. Jolly good. And now Trillic is down to his armor-piercing rounds, but he takes a shell from a Tier 10 auto-loading artillery piece. Manages to repair the tracks, because he really doesn't want to eat any more of that. The Type 5 Heavy is dead. And while he's stunned, he's just waiting for the stun to wear off. He's not in an immediate combat position, so that makes sense. There's no point wasting the the med kit on that particular stun. Moving forward here then, we've got the VK101P just around the corner, along with the T54 lightweight. There was a Tortoise up on that ridgeline, so that's something worth bearing in mind. Don't really want to get shot by him. He's got rather high DPM, and definitely has a gun perfectly capable of mincing Trillic's T32 here. And actually not easy for Trillic to penetrate. So going for a shot here on the VK, actually manages to track the guy and damage the tank as well. Same trick he managed to pull on the E75. Very nice shot there. And having a go, can he do anything about the Tortoise? Nah, he's just focusing on trying to get forward, which is not a bad idea at all. Like I said, in this sort of engagement, the Tortoise would win every day of the month. But the Tortoise has got other people to worry about, and artillery is getting stuck in as well. And Trillic's picking up assistance damage here because he's not sitting at the back of the map. He's getting stuck in. Takes a hit from a Bulldog there, and finds the enemy artillery. Trillic is not on a lot of health. That was a lucky shot, but manages to get some more damage done. In this case, to that artillery. Only got 72 health remaining. Oh, can he find and do something about that Bulldog without dying? That would be quite nice. There's the Bulldog away to Trillic's left. WZ-120 is over there as well. Now, the T-32 does have very good turret front. We haven't really seen it this game. The situations Trillic's been in hasn't really been able to use it all that much. But just coming over these ridge lines, is he going to be able to get in there and get any more damage done before his allies clean up? Oh, there's artillery getting stuck in as well. Come on. One more shot. Can he pick up the kill? Come on. Come on. Oh, alas not. No kills for Trillic in this particular game. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he didn't have a good game in and of itself. So let's go and have a quick look. That actually ended up being enough for an ace tanker for Trillic there in his T-32, along with Spotter, Hand of God, Bruiser, and Fire for Effect ribbons. 2,628 damage done, no kills, 1,286 base experience. Remembering, of course, this was a Tier 10 match, so all of that damage against higher tier tanks. So that would be, let's have a look, the E75, the Type 5, the Type 5, the Batchat. Oh, only the VK. The VK was the only target Trilok shot who was an equal tier. Everything else was a higher tier. There'll be an XP multiplier for doing damage to those targets. 16 shots fired, 16 hits, 8 penetrations for that damage count, most of which was from pretty close range. 5 hits received, 4 penetrated, 1 did not. 490 damage blocked by Trilok's armor. I believe that was a shell from the E75. 5 enemy vehicles damaged, no kills, but 2,825 assistance damage to be thrown into the bargain. Now, you have to bear in mind when you look at the credits received here that I don't know if it was intentional or not, but Trilok was resupplying his premium ammunition for gold, which means that whilst he made a let's say 48,000 credit profit, he did lose 168 gold. And that would really be my main critique of this entire replay. I would say fire premium rounds in that situation, totally understandable, but it is more efficient to resupply them for credits than it is for gold. If you just go into the service option on your tank, you can select whether you want your premium ammo to be resupplied for credits or for gold, and I would recommend changing that to credits. I just don't like people spending money when they don't have to, like real world money, like gold you get with real world money. But anyway, it was a really nice game overall there for Trilok, and enough for his T32 ace tanker. So let's move on to another heavy tank that again you don't really see that often. So for our second replay of this video, we are back on Swamp. Same map as before, but we're dropping down a couple of tiers. We are joining Mac here in his T150 tier 6 Soviet heavy tank, and this is a tier 7 match, so this is middle of the road matchmaking. T150, another machine you don't see all that often. It tends to get rather overshadowed at its tier by the KV85, used to be the old KV1S of course, and the KV2. Now the T150 is not a bad tank at all, not by any stretch of the imagination, but well, everyone seems to go, oh my god, KV2, big derp gun, or oh my god, KV85, that gets me the IS-3 and then the IS-7, so the T150 doesn't really receive quite the same level of love. It's not that you don't see this tank at all, but it's just a slightly rarer sight on the battlefield. So, here on Swamp, you're going to be getting a sense of deja vu here, because Mac is in the process of driving up to a very similar position that Trilok was using in the previous game. Yeah. And we're going to see how that works out. Now, this corner up here on the map, it is generally considered the place where heavy tanks go to brawl it out. So it shouldn't come as a huge surprise that Mac driving the T150, it's a relatively slow but pretty heavily armoured tank that likes engagements to be up close and personal. It shouldn't come as a huge surprise that he is opting to go over to this region. Now, the tank comes with a 107mm gun, 167 penetration, 300 alpha damage. It's the same gun that the KV5 uses, but it's 2 tiers lower. And the KV85 on the friendly team, to be fair, is saying to Mac, don't go alone, which is entirely fair enough. We've got an M6 over here and a KV1S. That KV1S doesn't really seem to be paying attention to Mac. The M6, however, is... no, that was not going to do the biscuit, I'm afraid. So M6 is a relatively dangerous target, certainly more dangerous than a KV1S. KV1S, of course, being top tier in this particular matchmaking. Enemy KV1 as well. But there's the first shot bounced by Mac's armour. Coming around here, can he get a shot into the flank of that M6? Trying to side scrape round this corner. Or through the guy's turret. Nah, that one doesn't even hit him. This is these Soviet heavy tank guns for you. They're a bit on the derpy side, let's be honest. Another bounce there from the M6, and Mac is able to return in kind with an AP shot straight through the turret front. The M6, much like the T1 Heavy below it, well, the M6's turret isn't fantastic. The T1 has a very similar turret but benefits from being a tier lower. Comparing the two, the benefit the M6 really gets is thicker hull armour, but then it is a tier higher, and a bigger gun, but then it is a tier higher. So it's kind of, you make up your mind about what you think of that. But the turret itself is fairly similar. Mac aims that shot and is able to put nice AP round there through the guy's turret to pick up the kill on that American tier 6 heavy tank. KV-1 just bounced a shot on Mac's armor and decides that what he needs to do in this situation is just sit there and take it. Now bear in mind, maybe this KV-1 hasn't been playing this game very much, so I don't want to be too harsh on him. He's only at tier 5, it doesn't take that many battles to get to tier 5, and I've played like 29,000 games at this point, and I still make daft mistakes from time to time. I mean, don't we all? And KV-1S being perhaps a little optimistic. Oh, unlucky. If that shot had gone through the guy's axle, could have tracked him, dealt damage to him at the same time, much like we saw Trilloc doing in the previous replay. As it is, no such joy. Then again, this KV-1S is really struggling with penetrating Mac's T150 here. He says, just as the KV-1S penetrates Mac's T150, and Mac puts in another shot to keep the guy tracked. Now let's just actually have a quick look at where this guy is penetrating him. There we go, lower front plate. This guy is not playing like a complete and utter scrub. He's doing okay, but he does die all the same. KV-1, yeah, that was only ever really going to end one way, wasn't it? And he becomes Mac's second kill. So, in this region, we've got a KV-1 and a KV-3 that we know of. Need to be really careful about this KV-3 in particular. He's the T150's bigger brother, and he's a bit scarier. Got more armor, got more health, got a bigger gun. Mac, it's difficult to side-scrape around here because there's this dirty great wreck in the way, and gets very lucky there, bouncing a Stura Emil in the background. The fact that there is a Stura Emil in the background, and Mac's not an idiot, he kind of uses the fact that he bounced that shot to estimate where the guy must be hiding. But the fact that that guy is there means that you don't really want to side-scrape around here too much, because the next shot may well not bounce or miss. It might well hit. And then you're going to be missing a large chunk of your health because that Stura Emil gets a big, big, fat gun. 59 spotting damage on the KV-3. Thank you, Artillery, for lending a hand there. Feel I should point out here the scoreline is 7-10. This is not going especially well. So, KV-3, KV-1 over to the right-hand side over there. And Mac is deciding to relocate. Not a bad idea. That was a really awkward engagement with that Stura Emil in the background in particular, posing problems. So Mac is going somewhere else. Coming around here, he might be able to finish off that KV-1, and if he can do that, then he might be able to do something about the KV-3. So the KV-1 becomes kill number 3. And then we've got the KV-1 around here, sorry, the KV-3 around here somewhere. The KV-1 is already dead. There we go, he's got 393 health remaining. Mac does get spotted, unfortunately, and the KV-3 is looking this way, which does mean that the T-29 can shoot him. However, the friendly T-29 is using the stock gun by the look of it. Mac takes an artillery shell there, doesn't do an obscene amount of damage, does track him, does stun him. It's not the end of the world. And Mac, once again, you just got shot, so he's trying to let his team know, RT over there, be a bit careful. KV-3 hiding behind a rock, but it looks like he might be about to get a rectal panther, which sounds incredibly painful now I think about it. A panther suppository. No, let's not follow that train of logic any further. That's just, nope, no thanks. We're done here. Flat Panzer away in the distance, perhaps not the biggest threat, as that gun is a little lacking for penetration with regard to tier 6 tank destroyers, but very good DPM, respectable alpha damage, so obviously anything can be a threat, but either way, driving out there, we've still got that Stura Emil in the background, who could one-shot Mac at this point. 490 alpha damage, it would only be a slightly high roll to kill Mac in one shot. Comet has been spotted, hello, and this gun is reliable as ever. Mac does spend some time aiming. You could argue perhaps he could have spent a little more time aiming, but he takes the shot when he does, and the shot goes into the dirt. Comet backs off, and this Comet would be a 2-shot for Mac most of the time. I'm not sure about this. Going over to try and deal with the T-34 when a Comet is shooting you in the side. I mean, Mac picks up the kill, sure, but he loses 423 health for the privilege. And of course, in killing that T-34, it's entirely possible he might have exposed himself to tank destroyers. As it is, that doesn't end up being a problem, but you never know. So, Mac comes around here, tries to put a shot, successfully puts a shot into the Comet, my mistake. and manages to pick up the kill on him. Mack is up to 5 kills now, by the way, in case anyone wanted to keep track. So we've got that artillery, the Jagdpanzer IV, and the Sture Emil still remaining. The Jagdpanzer IV takes out that stock T-29. And on Mack's team, of course, we have got Mack in his T-150, though on very low health, and the friendly AT-15A over there, who has most of his hit points remaining. I am just going to speed this along a little bit because we've got a lull in the action. And I don't imagine Mack is going to sally out to try and take them on tete-a-tete. Puts one shot into the Flat Panzer there. Flat Panzer misses a couple. Can Mack pick up the kill there? There we go. Kill number 6. Very nicely done. So that's Mack's Top Gun secured. Now, of course, multiple people can receive Top Gun medals. It's not only one. And he was able to do that without taking another shot. A good thing, because one more shot would have finished him off. Still got that Sture Emil and AMX-13F3. Once again, I'm just going to speed this along a little bit. Swamp can be a kind of campy map. So we're just going to try and get back into a little bit of action here. Feel free to play the Benny Hill theme in the background. Sture Emil spotted out there. Doesn't do any damage to the Sture Emil, but likewise doesn't take any damage, which is a good thing, because he has a dirty great big gun. Of course, there is also artillery, who at this point wouldn't really have to do too much in order to kill Mack. You know, 99 damage with a 155mm howitzer from... yeah, that's gonna make a lot of pain happen. So, AT-15A can potentially bounce some shots from this Sture Emil. Not quite sure which way this guy is looking. Mack doesn't want to risk it too much. Puts a shot into him, and at this point the Sture Emil should be picked up by one or other of the allies. As it is, Mack is able to make him kill number 7. And so then we've just got an artillery piece to hunt down. Not quite sure where he is. The AT-15A reckons it'll be J2K2, so fair enough. Unfortunately, the French artillery are all pretty fast machines, so the one good thing they are good at is, there were too many goods in that sentence, but they are very good at relocating. Not being where you expect, being somewhere else, and staying alive like the sneaky little frog-eating buggers that they can be sometimes. However, Mack's sixth sense has just gone off. He is spotted. The artillery must be around here somewhere. Artillery can sneeze on him and kill him, but it looks like the artillery has fired. Oh no, but he's managed to get safe before Mack can go over there and deal with him. So we end up with this kind of bizarre little situation going on. And with 1 minute, oh dear, it would have been with 1 minute 40 left on the game, Mack drives into the cap circle, but as it is, he was a couple of seconds delayed because of the water, and so he doesn't actually get into the cap circle in enough time to cap on his own. Now he's asking the AT-15A to get over here and help him cap, but then the artillery turns up, and mutually assured destruction ensues, but with the AT-15A still alive on the friendly team, that ends up being a win. Whew. So, let's go and have a look and see how well Mack did in this particular outing. That game then was enough for Mack to get Ace Tanker, Bruiser, Duelist, Fire for Effect, Eye for an Eye, which is not an award you see all that often, but it's for simultaneously destroying someone who also kills you, if that makes sense. They died at about the same time. As well as High Caliber, a Top Gun for those 6 kills, and a Radley Walters medal for picking up 8 kills. 2,955 damage done. 8 kills, of course, 1,533 base experience. Really nice result there for Mack. Shout out for the AT-15A, who finished second on their team, and the M44 artillery also had a pretty decent game. On the enemy team, there were no massively standout performances. KV-1, Hellcat, and Flat Panzer all managed around the 1,500 damage mark, which is fine, but nothing too impressive. Although for a tier 5 in a tier 7 match from that KV-1's perspective, that is fairly decent. 22 shots fired, 18 hits, 14 pens. For that, basically 3,000 damage. 12 hits received, 5 penetrated, 7 did not. 2 splashes, so 1,370 damage blocked by max armor. 9 enemy vehicles damaged, 8 of them destroyed, 312 assistance damage, 3.74 kilometers traveled, which is quite a long way when you're in such a slow machine. The match almost went the full length, coming in at over 14 minutes, and a 25,000 credit profit made with a standard account. So a really nice result there from Mac as he picks up his ace tanker in the T150 and also manages to rack up another Radley Walters medal. Well played to him, and that means we have got one more replay left for this video, so let's go and take a look at that. For our final replay then, we are going to join Isla, and we are segueing back to the American tech tree, back to tier 8, but this time we're in the M6A2E1, affectionately called the Mutant. This is a premium tank. I referred to it earlier on when we were looking at the T32 gameplay. It's not a tank you see all that often. It was available as part of the, for those people who were alpha testers, I believe, as part of a bundle. Wargaming subsequently made it available for a short period of time, certainly on the EU servers. And so they are less rare than they used to be, but they're still quite uncommon. Isla is platooned up with Panzervor 87 over there in his AMX M449 Liberté, and those of you who are more of observant may have noticed that there is something else all of these replays in common, have in common, as well as featuring relatively unusual tanks. They're all on Swamp. So we're back on Swamp once more in a heavy tank, and all of these guys have started in the southern spawn on this map, and all of these guys have gone off towards this sort of heavy tank brawling corner, so do not adjust your sets. If you're getting a sense of deja vu at this point, possibly even deja vu, then that is entirely understandable. And no, you are not going mad. Having said all that, so what we have with the Alien here, it's essentially an M6 with a fancy turret, a bigger gun, and up-armoured on the front. So this was well, the idea was to up-armour the M6, or to up-gun the M6, so we've got the same 105mm gun that you find on the T32. However, the M6 here gets limited matchmaking, so you do not get yourself into tier 10 matches, which is nice, but even in that scenario, honestly, the gun feels a little bit lackluster. The frontal armour of this tank is pretty good, the side armour is like tissue paper. And there's a lot of heavy tanks up here on both sides. You can see here Isla has already bounced a number of shots. There we go, we're up to almost 1,000 damage blocked by his armour, and he's putting shot after shot into these fellas as well, trying to put damage in on those tanks that are the most dangerous. Shot goes in there, there is a weak point, or relatively weak point, towards the top of the turret there. A Lerva has reasonably good penetration, so things like Lervas penetrating you every now and again shouldn't come as a colossal surprise. Isla prioritises the Object 252, manages to take him out, nicely done. It's always good to have one fewer guns on the enemy team, of course. And now he's trying to focus down one of those IS-3s. IS-3 is certainly a dangerous tank. I don't think it takes a genius to come to that conclusion. And Isla there goes for the side. Bit of a curious shot. If he'd gone for the side or the rear of the turret there, that should have penetrated and he should have picked up the kill. But there we go, as it is. Okay, the IS-6 has gone down now, so it doesn't matter hugely, but a slightly curious shot. Having a look at this Lerva and the IS-3 here then, there we go, that shot. I mean, the angling here for the IS-3 isn't optimal, so even though Isla has slightly less than 200 penetration, that should still be enough to go through the front of that IS-3, although as you could see just there, not all the time, so you do still have to be a little wary. Isla's trying to focus this IS-3 down, not a bad plan. He becomes kill number 2. Isla takes another shot from that Lerva, who does seem to know how to aim at the very least. And Isla is trying to do some damage to this guy, but not through the upper front plate, you're not. You really can't afford to angle this tank too much with its very, very weak side armour. But in this situation, firing APCR and shooting down onto the Lerva's upper front plate, in that situation, Isla can make it work. Scoreline is 8-5, by the way. After that brawl, there are a lot of dead tanks on both teams, but more of them on the enemy team, which is good. So Isla storms down here along with his allies, coming out hunting a T-44. He switched back to the armor-piercing ammunition as he doesn't have a need to fire APCR anymore. We've got a T-44 to the left, there's a T-25 pilot and a T-54 prototype over to the right-hand side, and then an assortment of light and medium tanks over on the zero line. There's only one heavy tank left on the enemy team, that is that Lerva. Not quite sure where he is at the moment. Last spotted over on C0, so we shall see if he was still over there. Isla is moving in that general direction, presumably to try and do something about him. There he is, F8. Let's see what we can do. Interestingly, Isla appears to have quite a good view range on this tank, so I'm wondering if he's running optics on his M6. It's not a completely awful conclusion or thing to do, I guess. The Americans do tend to have pretty good base view range, so if you mount optics on it, you can make the best of that. I run my mutant with vents instead, but it will come down to a matter of preference as to which you do. T-25 pilot is over yonder. Gun depression, there we go, gun depression, and Isla puts a shot into him. He does, however, take a shot from the second pilot there. Remember, the side and rear armour of this tank is pretty terrible. Manages to ammo rack that poor T-25 pilot for the rest of his health, and he becomes kill number 3. Bouncing a bunch of shots here from the pilot and from the T-54 first prototype, neither of which Isla is able to do any damage to. There's a Batchat 12T over here. There was a Batchat 12T over here. And the death of the Lerva and the T-54 means that this T-25 pilot is the only guy left on the enemy team. So pushing forward, can Isla pick up a bit more damage in this game and just take that fellow out? Would be nice to see. We're just going to speed this along a little bit because the M6, it's not the fastest machine in the world. So there we go, T-25 pilot takes one hit from the IS-3, appears to be going for it here. Isla puts one shell in, 317. Who's gonna kill this guy? It's the IS-3, fair enough. And that was the game. So for the last time this video, let's go and have a look at the post-game stats. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of you were heaving a sigh of relief that we're not going to see another replay on Swamp today. So let's see how well Isla did there in his mutant. So that was enough for Isla to get Ace Tanker, Bruiser, Demolitionist, Fighter, Fire for Effect Shellproof, and the Steel Wall Medal. 4,032 damage done, 4 kills, 1,433 base experience, finishing at the top of either team by whatever metric you want to measure that by. Shout out should also, I guess, come in for the Tiger 2 driver. 2.7k damage, 3 kills is a good result for him. And I guess also the Object 252, though it's an Object 252, so I'm slightly less impressed than I am with more damage on a Tiger 2. Also, enemy team, T-54 first prototype, 2.7k damage, not enough to drag his team to a win, however. Commiserations to you, Rockstar TV. 19 shots fired, 16 hits, 13 penetrations for that damage count. 1,035 was from more than 300 meters, so 3/4 of the damage from pretty close range. 15 hits received, 3 penned, 12 didn't, for 3,500 damage blocked by Isla's armor there. 1 enemy vehicle spotted, 9 damaged, 4 destroyed, 752 assistance damage, 2 kilometers travelled, and although he was running a premium consumable and fired a little bit of APCR there, Isla did still make an 85,000 credit profit with a premium account. ×5 experience for the first win of the day, or something, I assume, because I'm not quite sure how you're going to get that much XP any other way. But there we go, that ended up being a pretty good game there for Isla in his mutant. I hope you guys enjoyed that trio of just relatively uncommon heavy tanks on the Swamp map. Not necessarily a map they particularly like, but there we go. Hope you enjoyed them. If you wish to send in your own replays to me, then upload them to whatreplays.com. Send me a PM on YouTube with the link in it, and I shall take a look. I try to prioritise tanks we haven't seen before, or tankers that we've not seen before, but that doesn't mean that if you don't fall into either of those categories, you can't still upload a game and ask me to take a look, I am happy to do so. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, by all means feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel, and as ever I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao ciao.